how it was in Jamaica. It rained at like 1 o'clock every single day.
It does here at 3 o'clock.
I mean, really that was perfect for us because we just went and freshened up and went to lunch or went back to the hotel or rested for a little bit or whatever, you know.
Midday break.
Really nice.
You need that. Yeah, you do. If we had just came from swimming and then came straight here, I'd be like, but he's still playing his shot.
By the end of the week,
It doesn't suck.
Right. Yeah.
Hello folks, R1 here. Yes, I'm back from vacation. The beaches were excellent as always, and the sunsets were fabulous, of course. The whole family really needed it, and I think enjoyed themselves a lot, particularly my little girl here. One nice thing about vacationing at the Gulf, the restaurants there are excellent, especially if you like seafood. And you never know who you'll have drop by to keep you company, like this fella here. A couple of the restaurants that we like to frequent were out on the end of piers that jetted well out into the Tampa Bay or into the Gulf. And you never know who would show up, or even who would escort you out on your way to the restaurant. On more than one occasion, we would have a group of Rays swing by and escort us out the dock or out the pier on our way to the restaurant, which was always a pleasant sight. And often we would have dolphins frolicking around while we ate. This was a particularly large group of Rays came by. I think there were 14 of them in that group. Forgive the quality of the video. It was getting dark at that point. And at one point, we had a manatee just glide slowly right underneath us as we were walking out and come up for air on the other side. It was marvelous. I'd never seen one before. But anyway, enough of my vacation. I have not had much time to get into game since I've been back. We've been unpacking and basically recuperating from a very long drive. But I did manage to squeeze in a few games in War Thunder Ground Forces. Since you guys got the jump on me, I decided that I would make up some time by playing the little premium tank that I picked up in a little, I think it was a $20 gift pack. It had two premium tanks in it, one German one, and then this little fella, the T-26E. And yeah, it's basically the same tank you get as a starter tank in the game, but it seems to perform quite a bit better than the little reserve tank, which frankly drove me a little crazy. That reserve tank is difficult to get started with. Thank God you get out of it relatively quickly. But it's battle rating 1.7, and it earns experience pretty quickly. And it can penetrate the target as long as there's nothing too hefty. It's got a little 45mm 20-K cannon on it that has some pretty decent ammunition. And its armor is pretty standard. It's 45mm on the hull all the way around, 45mm on the turret. All in all, it does fairly well at relatively short ranges, and it allows me to train up my Tier 1 tanks at a fairly rapid pace. So I got into a couple of decent matches. I had a few matches where I had trouble doing enough damage to kill my opponent. I would hit them repeatedly and do damage, but a lot of times dead men would end up artillery striking me to death, and that just happens. But I ended up actually having one or two pretty good matches that first night back, and I just wanted to share one of those with you while I have you here. Now, perhaps this video will let you decide whether or not this little gift pack that has these two tanks in it is worthwhile for you to pick up for yourself. I think there may be better options, but hey, for $20, it let me get into the closed beta test, and for me, it was well worth it. Is it worth it for you? It's up to you to decide. It's kind of a fun, one might even say challenging little tank to do well in, but I don't really mind a challenge. It's slow, though. You do have to get used to that, and it is not maneuverable. I think it has a 90 horsepower engine to haul its little 12-ton bulk around the battlefield, and it struggles on hills a bit, but, well, I did okay with it. You be the judge. I'll just play back a little bit of this battle footage. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and play the whole match because it shows you overall the good and the bad points of the tank. And yes, I did take a minute and modify the camo pattern slightly. Went from broad, dark bands across the tank to this kind of more almost tiger stripe effect. I hadn't really played with the camo options on the tanks before. It's kind of interesting. I'll have to download some custom camo patterns and play with those as well. Just needed a few style points. And off to a great start running into a teammate. But, what do you want? Now, this battle was fought in realistic mode, so I'm still trying to get used to judging my ranges appropriately with mixed results. The tank really isn't set up, especially on the move, to really be super accurate at long range. I guess it's better than a lot of them. It's not a super short barrel gun like you get on some of the tanks. But I just don't have a lot of practice yet at judging my ranges appropriately, especially once you get out there or at elevation. But I'm slowly starting to get the hang of that, and I will occasionally stop, you'll notice, and take a few shots at some of the AA batteries around just to practice. And I know it may look a little silly from time to time, especially when I miss repeatedly, but that's the only way I'm going to get better. And I urge you, especially when aircraft enter into these battles, take the time, score some extra points, rack up some AAA kills. It will only help your air cover be more effective when planes are added into the mix. And the extra points never hurt. But it's the only way you're going to get better. And after a while, I think that that'll pay off. I will have to admit, there is one thing that I think Gaijin needs to tweak. A little bit of information that would be handy to have. When you change information, or when you change ammunition for your tank, there's really no clear and distinct way that I have noticed of telling exactly which ammunition that you have loaded. It will give you a little audio cue and let you know if it's high explosive or armor piercing. But I would like to know at a glance exactly how the placement of the ammunition is down at the bottom when you hit your various number keys down there to switch back and forth. I sometimes forget which ammunition I have loaded into which slot, and it does change depending on the selections that you make, and especially if you play a lot of different tanks. Well, I just think it's information that should be readily apparent. And maybe there's a tooltip that pops up that I have missed completely, and if so, I apologize. But I haven't noticed it, and it needs to be visible as to whether or not you're using your high penetration ammunition of various types or high explosive. It's something that needs a little bit of work, and you know, we are in open beta, so hopefully it's something that will be added in the near future. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that's the only problem that I have found with the ground forces in War Thunder. There are others. Ghost shots, in particular, are a little disconcerting. A ghost shot is where you simply fire and you don't hear your gun go off. You don't see the shot go off. I'm not even sure there's any effect from it once you do. It's kind of hard to tell if it's just a clean miss or if the shell impacts and does anything at all. But that is something that they have to fix. And I haven't noticed it, but I know that some folks have had trouble with the invisible tanks out there as well. I'd like to think that's been fixed and that I'm not totally oblivious, but either way, they're minor glitches that will, I'm sure, receive appropriate attention in the near future. Now, shooting on the move is also something I'm trying to get better at. Shooting at targets that are on the move. Finally nailed that guy. Kind of happy with that shot. I need to practice that particular skill set quite a bit more to get good at it. Some of the folks out there, I have noticed, have managed to make that kind of an art form. NTech in particular, shout out to you, NTech, by the way, is extremely good at hitting targets at very, very long range and even on the move. And one day I hope to be that good at it, because that's a very handy skill to have. We have managed to secure our cap for the moment, and I decide that I'm going to range out a little bit here and try to keep as much fire as possible away from our base. Do a little proactive defending at this point. And it takes a little while for me to get him into position. This map is a bit hilly, and this tank struggles going uphill, as you'll see here shortly. You'll notice I don't have vegetation or the draw distance on the trees turned down like a lot of players do. I know it will give me some advantages as far as being able to better and more quickly spot my targets, but I just can't bring myself to play this game with everything dialed down. It's so gorgeous when you have the graphics up as high as your rig can handle it. And I'm not going to point fingers at anyone and accuse them of cheating if they've got a high-quality rig and they purposefully dial everything down to give them advantages in game, but I'm not going to do it. I play for the eye candy. And that, to me, is more important than a slight advantage in game. Now, I almost let these guys get around behind me and get to my cap, and I was feeling pretty good about my last kill that just took place there, heading that fella off and driving the other fella back at the top of that ridge. I'm about to find out that I wasn't quite as observant as I thought I was, though. Yep, that's when I noticed that I've completely missed this group coming in from our flank that are invading our cap. So I decided I need to do something about it. I've managed to gain a little bit of a high ground advantage here, so I decided to put that to work. I realize I'd better get back there because our cap is definitely still under threat. Although it's kind of difficult to tell, I'm pretty sure this guy's found some sort of cover down there to get behind, so I'm going to have to go all the way in. And it looks like an artillery strike has been called in on my position. I need to move as best as this little beast can manage it to reposition. Otherwise, I'm going to end up dead to artillery again. So I get undercover. We've secured the cap again. It's looking pretty good. They're only down to their last 2 or 3 guys. At this point, the match is pretty much over. I assess my options. I decide it's time to head back out and hunt these last remaining players down, try and get some extra points before the end. Unfortunately, I'm so slow that I don't manage to track them down before my teammates finish them off. But that's okay. It was a good match. It was an enjoyable match. So there you have it. Is the little gift pack worth it? I think that the $20 I spent was pretty well spent. It's this little tank alone is kind of fun. And since I'm trying to get my Tier 1 tanks all ground up so that I can provide some interesting videos as I go, was money well spent. A little German scout combat car that you get in the pack also is, well, it's okay. It's fast. It's easy to tip the thing over, but it's fairly fun to play as well. Now I'll be doing some videos for both the German and the Russian lines as they go, and of course the other nationalities as they become available. It may take me a little while. I'm also going to start a series of videos on EVE Online. They have a interesting patch that's coming out in the near future with a lot of graphical improvements, and I'm all about the eye candy. So I'm going to be devoting a little bit of time to that as well. Hopefully I'll have the first one in that series out relatively quickly for those of you who have some interest in seeing the payoff for the literally years of work that CCP has put into upgrading the graphics in EVE Online. The gameplay's always been excellent. The graphics are in the midst of a kind of a huge overhaul under the covers, so to speak, that is just beginning to bear fruit. I'll probably have that video up in short order and start my EVE Online section for you all. For those of you that have interest in something a little bit different than World War II genre gameplay. Tank combat is going to be a bit of a learning curve for me. I'll be quite honest. In closed beta, I spent most of my time in the air. I'm fascinated by the interaction between air combat and ground combat in this game. Most of my videos focused around that in the past. And as soon as airplanes become available to enter into the ground forces battles, I'll probably be right back into that for the most part. But I am going to devote a fair amount of effort into developing my tank skills in this game. And I will be putting out some World of Tanks videos as well. It's been a long time since I've played that, so that's going to be kind of a new experience for me as well. So please bear with me while I get myself back up to speed on tank combat in general. Anyway, I do appreciate your folks taking the time to watch my videos. Please give me a like if you enjoyed the video, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Your attention to these offerings I put out are very much appreciated. And don't be afraid to comment. I appreciate that as well. Well, in the meantime, whatever you're playing, enjoy it. And of course, as always, good hunting.